Good evening, friends. Welcome to the another video. In the previous video, we have talked about the basic meaning of the word respiration. So, we would have described the intricacies that exist between external respiration, internal respiration, etc., etc. Um, Now, the word respiration, what we mean here is internal respiration, which is a universal phenomenon happening in all organisms, irrespective of the organism being plant or animal. So this is the take-home message from the previous video. Hope you have understood. Now, coming to this topic, internal respiration. So what exactly does this mean? So this is nothing but a series of biochemical reactions. A series of biochemical reaction. By the word series, what I mean is they are linked. Right? They are linked biochemical reactions. So without understanding the basics of the biochemical reactions, we will not be able to understand this respiration plant topic further. So this video is basically meant to highlight the various concepts or the basics involved in biochemical reaction, right? So coming to this topic, biochemical reaction. Biochemical reactions. So the very word suggests that these are basically a chemical reactions. They are basically chemical. So what is a chemical reaction? Chemical reactions are nothing but there is a reactant A plus B will give rise to C plus D. So you call this as a reactant. We call this as a product, right? So A plus B giving rise to C plus D. This is basically a chemical reaction. Now, this chemical reaction might require a component, something called as catalyst. You call this as a catalyst, which is going to speed up the reaction. Okay, catalyst is going to speed up the reaction. So in case, for example, if this particular reaction is going to take 2 hours of time, an absence of catalyst. So in the presence of catalyst, the time taken for the reaction to happen will be comparatively, let's say 1 hour, 45 minutes, etc., etc. So this is what basically a chemical reaction. I'm not talking about biochemical reaction. This is what basically a chemical reaction. Now, coming to biochemical reaction, that's very same chemical reaction which is happening inside a cell will be referred as a biochemical reaction. So the term itself will tell you chemical reaction happening in bio. So bio means a living environment, right? So the very chemical reaction happening inside a biological system will be referred as a biochemical reaction, right? Now, is there any difference between a chemical reaction and a biochemical reaction except the place where it happens? So chemical reaction usually happens outside a living cell, like, in the chemistry lab, in a test tube container, etc., etc. So except that difference, is there any difference that is going to exist between a chemical and biochemical reactions? This is what the question is. Okay, so fine. There are going to be differences in depth, but for us, we are going to have some changes with respect to terms, right? So for example, in chemical reaction, we call this as a reactant, product and catalyst, whereas the same thing in a biochemical reaction, I'll call it as a BZ, biochemical reaction, we are going to call it as a substrate. We're going to give the term substrate. This is going to retain the same term product. And this is going to be simply not the catalyst, but it will be referred as a biocatalyst, which is also otherwise referred as enzymes. Okay, fine. So this is the basic structure of a biochemical reaction. Hope you all would have got it. Now, I like to highlight one important difference here. To my understanding, in chemical reactions, if you are going to remove the catalyst, well, the reaction is going to happen, but at a slower rate. Whereas in biochemical reaction, if the enzymes are removed, okay, the reaction not only slows down, but reaction literally stops. So enzymes are very, very, very essential. Actually, there's two jobs. One is they speed up the reaction. Not only they speed up the reaction, but also they make reaction happen. So it initiates the reaction. So these are all the basic understanding which is required for the which are the required part of a biochemical reaction. So I hope you have understood what is a chemical reaction and what is the basic difference that exists between a chemical and a biochemical reaction, right? Fine. Now, let's say we have a series of biochemical reaction. So A, which gives rise to B. So this is one reaction 1. Okay. So this is the substrate 1. This is the product 1 in presence of enzyme 1. This is a simple biochemical reaction. Now, you have something called as biochemical pathway. Biochemical pathway. What happens here is you have a couple of reactions that are getting linked. So that's what I said, a series of linked chemical reaction. You have got couple of reaction like R1, R2, R3, which are getting linked. Like for example, now you have R2 here. So reaction 2. So this reaction 2 requires substrate, and the P1 will happen to be the S2, substrate 2. That is the product of the first reaction will be the substrate for the second reaction. Now, this will give rise to C. This is going to be product 2 and substrate 3. Now, this is going to get transformed to D. This is product 3 and substrate 4. And mind, each and everyone is going to get catalyzed by a different enzyme, E1, E2, E3. Right? So this is what is referred as the biochemical reactions which are getting linked, and you call this as a biochemical pathway. Right? Hope you remember this equation discussed in last video, that is put to energy. When you expand this FTE process, you get, various biochemical reactions which are getting linked. Right? So this is a biochemical pathway. Right. Now comes the question, what is a biochemical cycle? What is a biochemical cycle? So when the same biochemical pathway, it is nothing but the biochemical pathway where you have a series of reaction where the substrate of the first reaction and product of the last reaction are getting linked, which means that the substrate of the first reaction is same as the product of the last reaction. So you call this as a biochemical cycle. right? So hope you have understood what is a biochemical pathway. I mean, first, what is the basics of the biochemical reaction? What is a substrate? What is a product? What is an enzyme? So enzymes are must for the biochemical reaction to happen. They do two jobs here. One is they increase the rate of reaction. Not only that, but they make the reaction to happen, without which the enzymes cannot actually, the reaction cannot actually happen, right? And when these biochemical reactions are linked in a series, you call it as a biochemical pathway. In that biochemical pathway, if the final product is as same as the initial substrate, you call it as a biochemical reaction, right? And these are all the basics which we are supposed to know before we proceed further concepts in this topic, respiration in plant. And before I end this video, one thing I would like to say is the enzymes are going to be specific with the substrate. The enzyme, substrate, the interactions are going to be specific. Right? For example, here you have A as the substrate, E1 as the enzyme. This E1 is going to be specific for A. For example, if you're going to put this E2 here in place of E1, this reaction cannot happen. So this is one important property that we are supposed to highlight here is the enzyme substrate interactions are going to be specific. Okay. So with this basic understanding, in coming videos, we'll proceed with the further concepts involved in this particular topic. Thanks for watching.